Good afternoon. My name is Patrice. I'm the owner of ProFusion Web Solutions. Today, we're going to be talking about something that probably every business owner or business that is on this webinar already has, and you're probably just not using it as well as you possibly could, and that is your Google reviews. We're talking specifically about Google reviews, and actually we're going to sprinkle in some other options here, but we're going to look at how you can use them. I did a quick scan of the attendee list before we jumped onto this call, and did just a quick Google Business Profile search for many of you. And it looks like there are some of you that have in the hundreds of reviews, which is great. And then when I look through to your website, I'm not seeing those reviews used anywhere. A couple of you are on the smaller side with 10 to 20 reviews. And again, good, we've made progress, but we want to go ahead and talk about how we can get more of those and then where we're going to be using them. So actually getting reviews and then where we're using them, that gap in collecting and then using them is what this webinar is all about today. The frustrating part about Google reviews is you did the work to get them, right? Like, so you actually had to complete the project or complete the sale. You've asked the client for the review, whether it's with a Google QR code that's at checkout, or if you actually have to make the awkward conversation of, hey, if you like our work, would you mind giving me a review? However you did it, you got the review. So you did the work. They took the time out of their day to leave the review. And then for most businesses, the Google review just lives on in Google. It doesn't actually go anywhere else. That social proof is what we want to capture and reuse to help us in our sales, in building our portfolio. The review that is written by a customer is actually really persuasive marketing copy. And it's written in your customer's own words. So we're going to talk about why that matters and how we're going to use that. We're also going to take a look at why reviews matter more now than they ever have with things like AI, ChatGPT, search tools like that. Then we're going to look at the 5 places to put your reviews to make them work the most. We're going to look at a couple of what we call ground rules, but really it's Google's policies, and then the FTC has some policies around receiving reviews as well. So we're going to look at both of those. And then, as always, I'm going to try and leave you with a few action items that you can do this week that will make a difference in either your AEO, which is your answer engine optimization, or in your conversion when people reach your website. Let's take a look at 4 big numbers that came out in Bright Local's consumer review survey for this year. It's a big annual study on not only just reviews, but social media and how social media habits shape our consumerism. So this review is one that we always take a look at and then pull numbers out of there to help kind of figure out buyers' habits. So 4 big numbers that stood out to us this year were 97% of consumers use reviews to guide their purchase decisions. 97. So basically everyone is looking at reviews to help guide their purchase decisions. 41% now say that they always read reviews before making a purchase. This is up from 29% just a year ago. It's a pretty huge 1-year jump. People aren't just looking at your 5-star rating or your 4-star rating anymore. They're actually reading those reviews to get information on, how you operate, the products and services that you provide. 85% of people say they're more likely to use a business after reading positive reviews. So it's swaying business decisions or swaying our buying habits. And then the big one that really should kind of jump to your attention as well is 31%, so almost a third of consumers will only consider a business rated 4.5 stars or higher. And there's even a filter. So you can filter out businesses that have lower than a 4-star review average rating. So if you're not at 4.5 or higher, 31% of people aren't even going to consider you. That was 17% last year. So that's, again, made a huge jump over the last year. The key takeaway here is pretty simple. It's that strangers, people that are looking at your business, are now trusting a stranger's opinion over your own marketing copy. So whatever you're saying about your business is important, but what's more important is what other people are saying about your business. A customer can say the same thing that you're saying, but the reader will believe what they're saying. And that's the asset we want to take a look at. And we're going to put that to work today, is to get the stranger's opinion front and center, and this is not a stranger to you, your client's opinion front and center on your website and other places to make sure that it's working for you in your sales kit. Here's the part that's changed a little bit, probably since we first started looking at reviews 18 or so months ago. If you've been to any of our AI search sessions, this is going to be a little bit familiar to you, not new information, but when someone asks ChatGPT or Claude or Google's AI for a service like the best plumber near me, for example, again, the AI is not showing those 10 blue links. That's not what they're returning as their search results. What they're returning is citations and mentions for 2 or 3 businesses. So when searchers are asking ChatGPT for a business, they're going to give you recommendations. And if you ask, so if you follow up your AI prompt with, hey, ChatGPT, why did you recommend John's Plumbing, Joe's Plumbing, and Brad's Plumbing, for example, it's going to give you, the first reason it's going to give you is based on reviews. So it takes into consideration who you are. So if you say, hey, I need a plumber for my house, my toilet's, continually running, for example, what it's going to do, what AI will do, is take a look at reviews. And if there is a review that mentions, I'm so happy with Sarah's plumbing service, they helped me with my running toilet. That running toilet review is going to automatically get pulled because you just searched for, I need a plumber to help me with my continually running toilet. So it's going to match those 2 services up. And that's coming, again, directly from reviews. It's not looking at Sarah's plumbing website. It's coming directly from those Google reviews. So we're taking a look at how this works a little bit is, again, AI is going to read beyond just Google. So it's going to look at Yelp reviews, Facebook reviews. If you're in real estate, it's going to look at Zillow. If you're a home services contractor, it might look at Houzz. There's all of those individual review profiles. If you're only going to focus on one, I know we've talked about this, focus on Google, but those ancillary ones, those also matter too. They all feed into that consensus of what your business is and who you actually serve. If your entire review presence is only on Google, you may want to expand out a little bit and get into those other those industry-specific ones, or get on some of those top 10 lists where, top 10 plumbers in Whatcom County or top 10 whatever your service is. Try and get included on some of those lists because you want to have that consensus be a lot of different people, a lot of different sources are saying that this business is the best. So get the reviews. Google is going to be number 1, but you want to make sure you're expanding out besides Google as well. Recency and the number of reviews that you're receiving, they do matter. So if you have 30 reviews from 2 years ago and 1 in the last 2 years, that's not really going to help you. You want the reviews to be kind of a steady trickle, 1 per week, 2 per week that are coming in, 1 every 10 days is even a great cadence to get. But you want them to be consistent and regularly coming in rather than having a whole bunch dump in at once and then not receive another one for a year. And as business owners, we tend to kind of see that cadence because if we don't have a system set up where we're continually asking for reviews, it could be that we send out 1 email blast where we ask for reviews and we get 10 responses from that. And then we don't ask again for a little while, and then we do it again, and then we get those reviews. So you see that pattern kind of pick up where, shoot, we haven't received a review in a while. We're going to go ask everyone. We get a couple, and then we sit back and don't do it for a while. So it's better to put that system in place that is actually going to help you get those reviews once every week or 10 days or so. Okay, so you want the recency and steady drip of reviews. Those are ranking signals to AI and to Google search as well. And then we don't want to forget about replies. So when you receive a review on Google, again, we're going to speak specifically about Google on this one. When you receive a review on Google, you have the opportunity as a business owner to reply to that review. Reply to every single review. I don't care, even if someone didn't leave a comment, they just left a 5-star rating or a 4-star rating, respond to that review. AI can see your response. Not only can AI see it, but future customers will all be able to see your response as well. And that kind of indicates whether or not anybody's home, right? So if you have a bunch of reviews and no one is responding, it's kind of like, okay, well, is anyone really monitoring this? What do they really think of their customers if they're not even willing to take the time to respond to those reviews? So respond to those reviews. That your response also gets picked up. We'll talk about responses as well, but your response also gets picked up. Your review profile isn't just social proof. We're not just using these as social. It's also now your answer engine optimization, your AEO asset. It's all part of whether or not you're going to get recommended based on the consensus of your business profile. So now that we've talked a little bit about reviews, let's look at, we looked at kind of the why we need these. Let's look at where we're going to put these. 5 different places: your website, your Google business profiles where you're going to collect them, but we want to talk a little bit about that as well. You're going to include your reviews on social media, in your emails and proposals. This one gets overlooked a bit. And then also we're going to use these for new content. Adding these in, especially if we're going to start doing some of these on a regular basis, it shouldn't take more than an afternoon of time. Your Google business profile might take a little bit more if you're doing it consistently, but updating these things, it shouldn't take like, oh gosh, here's another thing of multiple hours per week that I need to add to my to-do list. You should be able to get these done in a relatively quick amount of time. Okay, so it shouldn't take too much more of your time to place these on here. Let's look at the first place on here. It's on your website. And I want to be clear, we're not talking about creating a testimonials page and throwing these on the testimonials page. Almost no one, unless they're really already invested in your business, is going to take a look at your testimonials page. Case study page is completely different. People read case studies. A testimonials page is likely not going to get read. So you want to put reviews where decisions are going to happen. And that's going to be next to your calls to action, like your get a quote button or request an estimate or buy now, things like that. Anywhere that there is pricing, you're going to want to put a testimonial next to that. On your contact us page, that moment where someone is deciding whether or not to reach out to you, when there's that little tiny seed of doubt, that's where you want to put a testimonial right there on that page. Okay, you want the customer's voice, so that little testimonial voice, you want that voice to be what they're hearing as they're filling the request and estimate form. When you're doing this, you want to match, if you can, the review to the page that you're putting it on. So if you're a kitchen remodeling company or a home remodeling company and you have a kitchen remodel page, put a kitchen remodel review on that page. So you're showing specifically, here's the service we offer, specifically here is the outcome from this service offering. So specific will always beat generic when it comes to reviews. When you're trying to figure out which review to feature, if you have a lot, this becomes a lot easier. If you're kind of working with 10 or so, it might be a little bit tougher, but you do want to look at ones that are specific. So if something like they fixed our air conditioning in one visit, that's going to beat great company every time, right? So if you get a specific review about the outcome in which your business performed, that's going to be better than just a generic great company, 5 stars, something like that. Details are going to be what makes the testimonial more believable. In a well-known test, adding a short block of testimonials to a landing page actually lifted conversions by 34%. That number has been studied over and over and over. The study has been replicated over and over, and the number stands. So if you have a landing page where you're selling something on there, where you want people to convert either with a sale or a form completion or whatever the conversion is, a phone call, if you have specific testimonials on that page, you will expect to see an increase of about 34%. Most people aren't using conversion or testimonials on their website pages. So it's, again, just by adding in testimonials into the appropriate place, it's going to give you an easy edge. What we're going to encourage you to do, this will be part of your homework, is pick your highest traffic page. So go to your Google Analytics and see what pages on my website receive the most amount of traffic, whether it's the service page, the about page, the contact page, or the home page, whatever it is. Find your highest traffic page and add your 3 best reviews near your call to action. Okay, so that'll be your homework number 1 there. The second place that we want to look at is your Google business profile. For a local business, anyone who has, who's trying to do business within a specific area, your Google business profile really does kind of serve as your true home page now. It's the first thing people are going to see. We covered it a few weeks back and maybe in multiple webinars, that it is the first thing that AI tools are scanning for local questions. So our first habit we want to get into the habit of is replying to every review, good, bad, ugly, honest, dishonest, whatever it is, you're replying to every single review. A reply shows buyers, so your future customers, and AI that someone is actually running this business. So we want, again, that real human touch there. If you see a wall of unanswered reviews, it's just like an unattended storefront. So it just shows here's reviews, but there's nobody home behind these reviews. So get in the habit of responding to every single review. When you do reply, try and weave in your services and your geographic location naturally in there. So if we use the water heater example, we would say something like, we're so glad we could help you with your water heater here in Ferndale, or in your house here in Ferndale, whatever. What you want to do is put your service and your city into your profile in your response there. It's going to be honest. It's going to provide some human text. We don't want to stuff it in there, so you don't need to do it multiple times. Just one time is enough. But one natural mention of the service and your location in your response helps a lot for the AEO. And then the third part on your Google Business Profile is we want to keep the rest of the profile active and alive. So add fresh photos, make sure your hours are current, put up a post weekly or every couple of days even. A profile that looks more maintained and active and engaging is going to make every review just seem that much more credible, right? So you want to continue to add onto your Google Business Profile. This work, if you start now, it's going to compound upon itself. So do the little things now, the little things kind of snowball and add into the big things. All of a sudden you've got, 150 reviews. You've got posts on your Google Business Profile that reference your services. You're, getting interaction with people, maybe asking questions on there. You're getting phone calls. So all of that helps with your local SEO and will help with your testimonials as well. The third place we're going to see reviews is on social media. If you ever, every business owner probably does this, we're like, oh crap, I haven't posted in a while. I don't know what to post. So you're sitting there staring at your Instagram, trying to figure out what to put up there. This is going to be the easiest thing you do is just create a review graphic. Go to Canva. They've got plenty of templates. Choose a template, stick to that format, and just grab one of your reviews and use the quote, use the first name, grab the star rating, add your logo to it. It's always going to be branded. Make sure that it stays branded there. And that your content basically is just created by your customer. They just created that content for you. The best thing you can do here is, let's say you do have 10 reviews on Google Business Profile. Take those 10 reviews and just create them all at once. Go to Canva and create your template, create all of these at once. And now you have 10, for example, social media posts. If you go and you schedule those to go out one per week for the next 10 weeks, you've just created a nice block of content that will consistently get posted to your social media accounts. If I'm going to ask you to do like one extra thing that goes a little bit out of the comfort zone this week, it's going to be ask your happiest customers. So as you're reading through those reviews, go back and take a look at those people and say, okay, is there one person in here that will be willing to do a video review? It's going to ask for a 30-second review. It doesn't have to be produced. It doesn't have to be fancy. Grab your cell phone and just ask them a few questions. Why did you like working with us? What were the results? What was the outcome? Why, just a couple of quick questions. Let your customer talk and have that as your video review. Video testimonials will consistently outperform text versions. Those can go on social. Those can get hosted on your website. It can go on your Google Business Profile. It can all go there. So if you're ever stuck for social content, remember, your reviews are already basically pre-written content. So go in and create that review stack as well. We talked a little bit about this, but anytime there's a price on your website, and I'm going to caveat this for, if you're a restaurant, this probably doesn't need to be the case. You don't need to have a testimonial next to every price on your restaurant website. If you have variable pricing like that, probably doesn't need to be a testimonial or a review next to each one of them. However, if you're in a B2B business like I am, it would be a great idea to have anywhere that you have pricing on your website or in your emails or in your quotes and proposals, have a review or a testimonial. The psychology here is the moment that someone sees your price, they immediately start wondering, Is this worth it? Am I going to get an ROI from this? Am I going to be able to, is the outcome going to be the expected, what I expect it to be? So the minute you see a price, that doubt starts to creep in, even if it's a low price, even if it's less expensive than we expected it to be, we almost then have a question of, ooh, this is way less than I thought it was going to be. Are they going to do what they say they're going to do? And that's when you have the review there. So again, that's when you want your customer's voice to show up. You want that customer's voice to be answering their questions and validating that you can do what you say you're going to do. The 3 places you can easily drop these in, underneath your email signature. So have a 5-star review, a quick one in your email signature. Refresh these or rotate these every month or 2. So it's just an easy place whenever you're sending emails, include that little testimonial in there. This is one where you're not going to want to have a paragraph or a really, really long one, but a quick 2-sentence review, 1-sentence review in your email signature is a great place. The second place is drop it in every quote and proposal that you send out. So right beside the price or right beside the service offering from a customer who has maybe purchased that same service or product, answer the objection before it's even asked. So put that right directly on your quote and your proposal. And then the third place I like to feature them is also in newsletters. So add a review of the month in your newsletter. It's a great place to put the video if you have the video testimonial. But you can thank the customer by name there. You get the social proof, so you get that testimonial proof. They get a little shout out, which again, it depends on, if your newsletter goes out to other customers that might see that and might appreciate knowing that that person has used you. It might help boost their business as well. So they get a little shout out, and then every reader gets a little nudge that maybe they should leave you a review too. So it just kind of reinforces that. Most of these things, your emails, your quotes, your proposals, and your newsletter, these are already getting opened, right? So your customers already see these, they recognize your name in your inbox or in their inbox. They're already opening these emails. So we want to let them do the closing for us. We want to let those documents that are already working for us, we want them to help us sell as well. So we're going to use those as our sales tool. And then the last thing we want to do with our reviews and testimonials is we want to mine them for words that sell. We basically want to take a look at our customers, what our customers are saying, what phrases they're using, how they describe our value, because how they're saying it is actually how our other customers might be looking for us as well. I might say, we offer comprehensive digital solutions, and our customer might say something like, they rebuilt our website in 3 weeks and our phone calls doubled. You know what? One of those sells, one of those is a solution, and one of those is exciting and would make someone want to reach out. And the other one is kind of marketing speak that makes sense to me, but might not make sense to anyone else that's reading it. So you want to use your customer's phrasing. You want to put that in your headlines, put that in your ad copy if you're writing ad. And again, this is likely going to be the same language that other customers are typing into Google or into AI. So it's not only going to be more relevant when someone's reading it, but it's going to help you get found too. The second recurring theme, any recurring theme that you see in the reviews, those are great ideas for content on your website or in your social media or in your newsletters. So if you're reading through your reviews and you notice they showed up on time, they were responsive, those 2 things you're seeing show up in review after review after review, this tells you that your market is actively worrying about you showing up on time and you being responsive. Not you, but your industry, right? So they're worried about those things because they felt compelled to include those in their review. So write those as then FAQs that you put on your website, or again, as social media content or newsletter content. So answer the question of, what is your response time? What can I expect from a typical response time from your company? Or, what is your time frame for arrival for appointments or something like that? So answer the questions that people are already praising you about in your reviews. And then, as I mentioned earlier, a testimonials page doesn't really get a lot of hits on a website. The thousands of websites that we host, if I look at all of the analytics, there might be one where the testimonials page is in the top 10 of pages. And other than that, they're fine to have up there, but they're not going to be the most actively visited page on your website. But a case study page will have that impact. So if you notice that one of your customers has left you a detailed review, they really spent the time to go through and fill out that review for you, I would call that customer and just ask them a few additional questions. Get what we usually like to have in a case study is going to be, what was the problem? Why did they come to you anyway? What was the solution that you provided to them? And then what was the result? So the solution is, what we as business owners, we think we're going to provide to you, and here's what it's going to solve. But then from the customer's point of view, what was the actual result? And that's going to be in numbers. It's going to be in time saved, things like that. So call them up. If they've left you a detailed review, call them up and say, hey, can I just ask you a few other questions? We want to turn this into a case study and get those answers, and then write that out as a case study and put that up on your website. That can be a very persuasive page on your website, and it all started out as a free Google review. So create that as a case study if you notice a review that's kind of hitting on a lot of those hot points that your customers might feel one of those pain points. Merging all of these together, so using your customer's phrasing, using it to answer questions or create content, this is where reviews, like those simple, innocent reviews that people leave you on Google, and answer engine optimization, that's where they kind of come together and meet. Customer language is more and more search language with AI. So those two are very, very similar. So we want to borrow from our customers the language they're using and use that on our website so that we can be part of that mentioned or cited website when the answer engine comes to look at our content. One quick warning before we jump into the ground rules and then look and see if there's any questions here. That Bright Local survey that we look at every year, the one that I mentioned when we first jumped on this call, there was a couple of the numbers that stood out to us, and one was 74% of consumers look for reviews written in the last 3 months. A third put the most weight on the last 2 weeks, and AI tools are also discounting stale praise, kind of the same way people do. So if 74% of people are looking for 3 months reviews, 32% are looking for the last 2 weeks, AI is following right along with that, where they give a lot of credit to the most recent reviews. So again, I just want to reiterate the fact that steady trickle of reviews is going to beat a big batch that came in 2 years ago. So the fix is, again, make it a habit to ask for reviews. And if you can tie it to something to where it's automatically triggered, so tied to the completion of a project, tied to, for us, a website launch, might be for when an invoice goes out, you ask for a review, something like that. Go back, if you're not sure on how to build a review system, we have a webinar called The Review System that we did back in May. Go take a look at that. It's on our archive page, and that will help you kind of think through this process a little bit as well. But you want to keep the reviews fresh. That's going to be the biggest impact. So creating that system is going to be very beneficial. Now looking at some of the ground rules here. There's just 4, and we'll quickly run through them, but they do matter. The first one is don't ever buy, fake, or AI generate your reviews, whether they're showing up on Google or whether they're showing up just on your website. Do not buy, fake, or generate reviews. The FTC has a fake review rule that went into effect 2 years ago, October of 2024, and it does have real financial penalties. So you want to avoid those completely. Also, last week we talked about Google's spam update. So back on the end of June, so just a couple weeks ago here, Google released a spam update, and it is actively looking to remove fake reviews and any manufactured trust signal. So an AI generated review, anything that is not authentic, Google is looking to actively remove those. Now you might think, okay, fine, it just gets removed. It gets removed, and it also flags your account, which could ban your Google business profile, which then could do huge damage to your local search. So it is simply not worth it to buy, fake, or generate any of your reviews. So just a warning there. Number 2, public reviews. So anything that's put on Google or Facebook or Houzz or Zillow, whatever. Those are public reviews. You can quote those. So you can grab quotes from those. But if you received an email that someone had glowing things to say about you or about an employee, and they sent you an email with that, that is private technically. So before you use that, just send them a quick email that says like, mind if I share this? That's going to take 10 seconds, but it's going to be much better than having them give you permission than if they just see their content out in the wild without you asking permission for that. So feel free to quote public reviews, but private praise needs some level of permission. If you have a review that is very long or a testimonial that is long, feel free to trim for length, but don't trim for meaning. So cutting a long review down to something more manageable is fine, but editing out any caveat that may change the message or the meaning is not. So trim for length, but not for meaning. And then the last one, I know we've talked about this too, but a negative review is not a crisis. A calm and helpful reply, which every future customer and AI is going to read, it's often going to do more good than another 5-star review. So seeing how you respond as a business owner is important in that review response. So take your time to create that thoughtful response. Again, we encourage the 24-hour rule where you give it 24 hours, you don't respond right away, you don't respond with emotion, you take a look at the situation and then leave the review. Being honest is going to build the trust. And again, don't forget that Google is actively hunting for spam and will take down your profile if they see it. Easy homework this week, I think anyway. One, copy your 3 best reviews onto your highest traffic page. Put it right near the call to action. Pick specific ones that are really detailed about what you do, the services and products that you offered. Put those on your highest traffic page. Go into your Google business profile. You can access that by going to business.google.com and seeing where your business profile is there. But log in there and respond to every unanswered Google review. If you have a lot that you haven't responded to, take a chunk at a time. Go all the way back to your oldest, start leaving reviews or responses there. And then your homework, turn one great review into a social post and schedule it. And then try and make that a weekly habit. Again, if you can batch them and just knock that out this week, that'll take you an hour or so to set up that template and generate all 10 of those posts if you have 10. But go ahead and knock those out and get those scheduled. Doing those things again just will get you ahead of the game a little bit. I have a couple of questions that did come in. Feel free to drop more in the chat if you have them there. Let's see here. Okay, let's see. Colby says, what do I do about a review that's flat out false? Oof, yeah. We actually had to deal with this with 2 different customers this week alone. Well, one last week and one this week. And it happens, right? So you see a lot of, it can be a competitor leaving a fake review for you. It can be someone who's just mistaken, where they got the name of your company wrong and they're leaving a review for someone else. It happens to be in your profile. If you have a genuinely false, fake review, you can request removal through Google's policy violation. So they do have the ability for you to request removal. I have in our 25 years, I guess we've only been managing Google for 10 years or so. In the very long amount of time that we've been doing this, we've successfully removed probably a handful of reviews, and they were where they were flat out. There was no record of this person having done business with us. 1, it was really false. 2, it was a bot. So there's where they're just saying bad things about you to try and really hurt your reputation. So there are things where you can request to have the review removed. It's not always successful. Google doesn't always want to help the business owner on this side of things. So you can request removal, but if that doesn't get taken down, and while you're waiting for Google to respond to your policy violation, reply calmly with your side of the story. And that simply could be, hey, we have no record of you at all. We don't know where this came from. And simply putting that on there. Again, future customers reading that reply and your very level-headed and calm response, that's going to do more for you than even removing that review would. So go ahead and don't fear the review, but do flag it if you know it's flat out false, and then respond appropriately. There are some fantastic Reddit examples where business owners have put in like, hey, this is the fake one, here's my response. And they've gone somewhat viral because, it's like someone going to Glacier National Park and complaining because there was mosquitoes. And it's like, okay, 1-star review for this beautiful national park because there's mosquitoes here. Sorry, right? Like there are things where you're just going to have some ridiculousness that you may have to respond to. But again, responding to as silly as it seems, it's going to show more about you than it does about them. Let's see, Marcy says, my industry makes people shy about public reviews. Yep, I get that. What should we do then? Because it seems like things really hinge on public reviews. That's a great question. And often we have to work with clients who are in the medical profession, and it's really an awkward situation potentially to ask for a review when you go to your doctor and you get checked out. It's hard for the doctor to be like, hey, did I solve your rash problem today or whatever you're going, it can be awkward to ask for those reviews. Or if you're a mental health professional, an awkward time to ask for a review, right? But still, your business does exist on Google Business Profile, and you still do rely on people finding you there. So if I were consulting with a company who had an awkward, or it was frowned upon to ask for reviews, or people aren't going to really be willing to leave public reviews, I would go the route of putting a review request on my website. So rather than sending people to Google, what I would do is put up a form on my website and say, hey, explain the situation. We don't want you to be shy about leaving a review. We don't want to publicize your name, but if you would be willing to leave us a comment, we would like to anonymously use your experience with us on our website. So I would put a feedback form up on the website and then drive people to that. That way you can ask them directly. You can get their permission to do it. They don't have to publicly use their name where people might be able to trace it back to them. And then you can just choose to use their first initial of their first name, first initial of their last name, instead of putting in their full name. So you get to control the placement at that point. Then you can put it on your website. You can put it on social media. You can include it in a Google Business Profile post, but you're not making them publicly post the information. So they get to keep their privacy. You get to get the review. So it does help. Not as good as natively getting that review in Google, but a good workaround if you need one. Those are great questions. Okay, I don't see any other questions coming in, so thank you for being here. I actually don't have my topic planned for next week yet. I was going through, and we had these scheduled out since January, so I did the whole schedule, and we've modified just based on the industry changing, but we had January through July scheduled out with some modifications in there. So we're gonna go back through and look and see what other holes that we've missed, what other webinars we need to put out, but there will be one next week, so we will have one. If you have a topic that you'd like us to talk about, I know email marketing has come up on actually like some how-tos on email marketing, so that's come up a couple of times. We might try and work that into the rotation. But if there is something that you simply have questions about on how do you do something or why do we want to do something, feel free to send me an email. It's Patrice, Patrice, at ProFusionWebSolutions.com. Shoot me an email and we'll turn it into a webinar and see if we can answer your questions. Thank you very much for being here. Sorry about the audio quality to begin with. Hopefully this all worked out, and we will talk to you next week.